Today's episode is an unaired interview Eric and I had in 2021 with Dr. Nicole Tschierske. I must warn you, there were issues with the audio file, but I'm equally excited to say this was an amazing interview. Dr. Tschierske is a coach, trainer, and facilitator who works with experts and teams in STEM fields. She specializes in positive psychology, positive leadership, and advanced problem solving. Dr. Tschierske has been doing this kind of people work since 2017 and has helped individuals and teams in research and development, supply chain, finance, data and coding, and operations do better work together. Welcome, Dr. Nicole Tschierske, to Hindsight the Podcast.
Hindsight is 2020, hindsight is key. To learn that, you don't need no type of degree. Learn from the past, see what the present gon' be. I'm a wise man, look at these blessings on me. Hindsight is 2020, hindsight is key. To learn that, you don't need no type of degree. Learn from the past, see what the present gon' be. I'm a wise man, look at these blessings on me. The Hindsight Podcast, hosted by Lee Jones, the one and only, my homie, bringing the past to the present and affecting the future for the better.
Today, I'm excited to have Dr. Nicole Tschierske with us. Nicole is really passionate about helping overlooked women in STEM become influential. Welcome, Nicole. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Nicole, how's it going?
Hi, Eric. I'm doing fine.
I'm really excited to have you on, and thank you for working with the different time zones.
Yeah, no worries. You've been very flexible.
So where exactly are you again, Nicole?
I'm in Hamburg, in Germany.
That was a challenge. So for the listeners, just for, what is it called? Water cooler talk. Eric, I'm going to use that every episode now. The water cooler talk, we were trying to coordinate this conversation. And I said, hey, how about 7 p.m. on Thursday? And that's 3 a.m. your time.
Yeah.
So I totally didn't think about the time differences between California and Germany, Hamburg, Germany. So thank you so much for making the time.
Yeah, no worries.
In the bio, you talk about working with STEM. Tell us a little bit about that program and how you got involved with it.
Yeah, so I'm a scientist too, in my former life, basically. I have studied food chemistry and I have a PhD in chemistry. And the first years of my career, I worked in consumer goods innovation, so developing new products to be consumed or used, cosmetics, little food products, and so on. Until something happened, as it always has, that triggered me to change career trajectory or direction into a completely new field. I now work in the area of supply chain, but as a change manager, focusing more on the people side of things. Plus, I have set up my own coaching practice next to my corporate job. And your show is called Hindsight, so there are a lot of things I can tell you about in hindsight of what has happened.
Things happen and you had to change your career. So what happened and what made you change your career trajectory?
Yeah, it was so in big corporate, there are often happening things like mergers and acquisitions and so on. And that was what has happened back then in the company where I worked. And they basically acquired another company. And so now they had two teams that were doing basically the same thing. The one team where I was in Hamburg and the other team in the part of the company that they had acquired in the States. And as it always is, it's like when you put two parts of an organization together, you have to figure out quite a number of things, like how things are going to be run, who's going to be responsible for what. And then obviously you don't want to double resources in two places. So that made the company pause for a moment. So, they put all of the projects on hold until they were going to figure it out. And that meant I had for a few months close to nothing to do. At the beginning, it was still okay because there were still all of my old colleagues there and so on. But then my job got made redundant and I found a new position. However, one that was still, how do I say that? That was still influenced by that merger because we were depending on the teams in the States to give us projects. But I don't know, things just didn't pick up pace for a very, very long time. And so in the end, it was about 12 to 18 months where I was at 10% of my capacity in terms of workload. And you know how many people have too many things to do and then have a burnout. So I had way too little things to do and got a bore out. And yes, it is a real thing and it felt horrible. But it was, again, in hindsight, it was the crisis that kind of I needed in my life to really start to look for other things and pursue new interests.
I love that board out because you don't typically think of that. Pushing forward into your coaching career, kind of tell us how that all started.
Yeah, it started, again, also through this crisis because as I had nothing to do at my job, I could only come home and sit on the couch completely deflated because I was managing myself all day. I literally had no energy left. And the moment when everything that even just resembled being a routine, that was when I thought to myself, okay, I need help. I need to ask someone for help because this can't go on like this. I have 4 more decades of work in front of me, so this can't be it. And that's when I sought the help of a coach myself. And within 4 sessions, he had me trying new things, pursuing new avenues, knocking on new doors. He really helped me get out of this energy low. And I was so amazed at this. I was like, I want to be able to do that for people. And that's when I started coaching training and set up my practice. And well, now like you said in my bio, I help women in STEM. So in the science, tech, engineering fields, because I can really relate to them, how they feel based on, my earlier career and my background. And I help them really become a good, they are already great employees, but now how do they become recognized experts, that they feel valued and that they unlock new opportunities for themselves? Because I can tell you, if I wouldn't have had the reputation and the credibility and the relationships in the company where I was at, first of all, I don't think I would have survived, quote unquote, the redundancy. The moment the word was out that my team was going to be made, or the whole team I was in was going to be made redundant, I had multiple people knocking on my door asking me, okay, if I wanted to join their team or if I wanted to come into their department and so on. So that was really quite nice and overwhelming. And then in the same time, a few years on, when I got out of this bore out, transitioning into change management, I don't think people would have given me a chance to go into an area where I had no work experience and no formal credentials to do a job that was so important in this big project. If I hadn't proven myself in other ways before. And so that kind of reputation and, that really allows these new opportunities to pop up like mushrooms. That's what I want to help my clients with.
Besides work ethic and having that great reputation around your field, what was one of the biggest things that you can contribute to successfully transitioning?
Yeah. So in any job, really, I think it's a lot about the relationships that you build, because people want to work with you if they feel they know you, if they like it's like, it doesn't mean you have to agree all of the time, but that you can have a really good working relationship. And also that they trust you, that they have seen that you stick to your commitments and that you deliver work that contributes in a valuable way to whatever they're pursuing. And, you can really have a lot of fun at work together, that especially when the job demands get really high, then it's often the relationships and the collaboration that helps us, stay energized and motivated.
Yeah, so I think networking and building relationships is definitely key to a successful career path. For somebody that hates networking, and I'm naturally, a really big introvert, I mean, what advice do you have for people like me in terms of networking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same way, put me on a party where I don't know anyone and it's buzzing, and this is an evening in hell for me, literally. Right. So I really much prefer having these one-on-one conversations or smaller groups. And I'm also not someone to, go around and just introduce myself and to just for the sake of it, just so people get to know me. But what I have found is that when I do the things that I really like doing, for example, sharing what I know or working on something together with others, or even, looking to get engaged in topics beyond my immediate role, then that is how you quite organically and naturally make connections. And that is when people experience how you work and what kind of person you are. And I mean, it's not something that then, is a form of quote unquote networking that happens overnight. Mm-hmm. But it's something that over time grows organically. And if you imagine, let's say you start in a new position, and you're probably going to be in there for about 3 years. And 3 years is a long time to get involved in other things, to go visit other people's team meetings, to ask people from different areas for help or input or inspiration and so on. So there are really a lot of different ways. And for me, it always helped when I, for one, made it about the work and what we wanted to achieve together. That's for me always the easiest way to start connecting with and talking to people, or to really genuinely wanting to get to know others. But mainly for me, it's always this avenue via the work that we're doing together was the one that felt the most aligned with me.
Now let's jump into STEM. How do people reach out to you, the young ladies? Do you seek them out? Do they seek you out? How does that whole connection evolve or happen?
Yeah, so it goes both ways. I try to expand my network on LinkedIn, but also with other collaborators, and really try to get the word that we don't have to sit in our careers and feel frustrated and feel overlooked and undervalued or stuck. But there are ways, beyond watching TED Talks or reading books, but there are ways to learn how to build the skills. Because, as brilliant as women in STEM or, most of the people in their careers are, nobody ever really teaches you, and certainly not at university, all of the other skills that you need when you work in a company. And so that is what I'm here for. But it's often not so obvious, especially when you say, yeah, okay, I'm a coach for women in STEM. And then they typically look at you and say, I don't need coaching, because they don't feel like there's any weakness. But it's not just about, fixing problems. Sometimes it's just really sparking growth.
Yeah, I love that. How do you work with these individuals to build their confidence?
So oftentimes they come in with, exactly a similar question like we just had, that, how do I even build a network? How do I become more visible? Or the things like, okay, I have to speak up more in meetings, but I really don't dare to because I always think my ideas are stupid, and all of that. So the goals are really quite different. And recently I had a session with someone, and she was already doing a lot of the right things, like sharing her achievements, both with her boss and with her team. She was already very vocal about what she contributed. And still, there were always other people who got selected over her to join other projects or to help out on different tasks. And she thought to herself, well, why is that? And so it works exactly like that. So with my clients, I meet with them on Zoom, and then we just have a conversation, and we do a bit of detective or, scientific analysis, quote unquote, of the situation. And through that, we then uncover, what are potential new avenues or strategies that she could pursue, or try out in order to do something about her situation. But so basically my clients always pick their own goals, and their situation is always really very unique. And then over the course of circa 4 months, we'll meet a few times, and really, I help them progress towards that goal. But it's not like me telling them what to do, but it's a lot of digging the answers out of their brain, because they are already there. We just need to put a little structure to that.
So how was an initial not consultation, but initial conversation with your clients? How does that go? What do you say right off the bat?
Yeah, well, first of all, I ask a ton of questions. Yeah. So I want to get to know them a little bit, want to know where they're at, because also, for example, I want to determine also, are we a good fit, and can I even help them? Because if people come to me and say they want to apply at a different company and they want to, get a proper resume and get prepared for the interview, then I have to refer them to a colleague, because I'm no expert in that. However, if they come to me and they tell me, it's like, okay, I want to, I just started this new role. I want to make sure that my new boss really respects me, and that he finds that I'm a valuable member of the team. And I really want to become part of that new team and form that new connections. And, I just really want to make sure that I stay on this really great development track. So we're basically exploring, okay, what is it that you want to achieve? And then we look at, okay, what obstacles might be in your way, both internal and external obstacles. And from there, we forge a plan. And then over the next few months, I help, push past any roadblocks that there may be, and keep, educating them also on small things that they might not know yet.
I just want to follow up on that. So I know if they're reaching out to you. I don't know, so I want you to educate me. But say they're frustrated at their job, right? At being overlooked and not being utilized. And I know you experienced that when you were going through your transition. What do you say to them, or how do you get them motivated, right? How do you get that frustration away from them?
So that is really an important bit. And I like focusing, one thing is to pursue these types of goals in the end. But if we're starting from a place of lack or scarcity or frustration, then we always often come across, or, we want to push it and we get desperate and so on. And that is just, so I'm really not woo-woo at all, but I can tell you that that's not an energy that you want to ride on, like seriously, because you transport that, and if you, let's say then by chance there's an opportunity popping up somewhere in the company, and the only thing you can think about when you have a conversation with that hiring manager is, oh, I so want to get away from where I am now, and that energy just transports, and you're really not at your best, and people get the impression, so wait a minute, it seems to be a very negative and whiny person. So you're right, it's really important to work on the frustration first, in the sense of, I'm not going to say start loving what is going on, but find the small things that work and find ways to brighten up the day and to find things that are motivating to you, and start to nurture that little bit of energy that you have. And then from that, bigger place where there's more abundance and where there's more exploration and creativity and curiosity, from there, you often find much better opportunities, and you're also in a better place mentally to, when you go talk to people.
Yeah, so you just mentioned, being motivated and through the frustration, but for some of our listeners that are really ready to take that next leap, what are some small wins that they can attack and accomplish in order to see a bigger picture?
That is a big question. Okay, so what I always like doing first with my clients is to look at what are your strengths. And your strengths are what you're good at and what you like doing. So not to be confused with competencies, because you can be good at, creating spreadsheets, but if you don't like doing it, then it's not a strength. And you really want to make sure nobody gives you more spreadsheets to create, yes? Because that's going to be draining your energy. However, let's find those things that you're good at and that you enjoy doing, and start to get creative about how you can do a little bit more of that each day in different ways. So, for example, if somebody has a strength of creativity, then this can show up in very different ways in your private life, in your work life, and so on. So let's just find these little ways. And if we use our strengths more often, we are naturally more energized and motivated. So that is one thing. Plus, when you know what you're good at, that is another thing that you can then, argue for your company or for the next hiring manager. Okay, so this is what I'm really good at and this is what I thrive at. Then also let's look at what really drives us, what are we passionate about? What do we where do we want to make a difference in the world? And yes, you can also, in the corporate world, you can make a meaningful difference. And so these are other things to really explore. And again, also, how can you find small ways? Sometimes it's just this 1% change that you need to make, but consistently, that really puts you on a new track for more energy, for more motivation, and then, things start to spiral upwards from there.
Beautiful. So, I hate when I say so, but I can't stop it. But Nicole, say you, and I keep going back, is in hindsight, right? I keep going back to questions I asked before.
Sure.
But say you feel overlooked, underutilized in the position and the role that you're currently in. How would you have your client go about focusing on maybe creating a new position that better utilize their talents for that company?
Yeah, well, I would say don't make the mistake that I made, which is only talking to one person about your frustrations for too long. So, you should always start with your line manager first, because they are, they are in the best position to make immediate changes and help you out. And, but if they are unable to or unwilling to, there are different people in the world. And sometimes, despite their best intentions and, what they really want to do for you, there's only so much influence also they have. And if you're getting nowhere with that, I'm not saying, within a week, you need a little bit of patience. But if, let's say, after 3 to 4 months, you see nothing is happening, then always be transparent about it. But says, it's like there seems no change on the horizon. Nothing seems to really improve here. I would like to go talk to another person, or, I would like to see if there's an opportunity to contribute to another project that is already running. Or can I please ask or go to the HR department and see if there's any kind of part-time secondment available, or where I could do some job shadowing and a sort of internship within the company, or just anything. And start talking to many more people about it. not out of desperation, but really out of the clear wish, okay, so here are all of my strengths. Here are all the things that I'm passionate about. I really want to contribute. It looks like you could need me here, or I could contribute there. Or do you know of anything that's going on somewhere else in the company?
Do you follow a strict methodology when you approach your sessions with your clients?
I don't follow a strict methodology. So, because everyone and everyone's situation is unique. Plus, I'm not the person who has all the answers for the others, but they have to find the answers that are best suited for their own lives and have to make their own empowered decisions. What I do is I listen. I ask a ton of questions. I do obviously have learned through coaching, training, a lot of tools or ways to ask questions or to explore topics in a way that digs deeper or broadens our perspective and so on. But so I use those tools, but it's always the client's decision and the client's answers. Sometimes I just ask a few questions and, we take some notes and say, okay, when you look at all of this, what potential solutions do you already have in mind? And then, it's like a spark, and then they already come up with a ton of things that they can try.
Right.
And, but I always, let's say the one thing that is consistent is that and that's the positive psychology background really, is that I'm very growth oriented so not just solution oriented, but actually very growth oriented in how I approach these sessions. But it's really more an underlying attitude or philosophy rather than a strict methodology.
And so I really want to know, who is your ideal client that you are looking for?
Yeah. So women, with a background in science, tech, engineering, and so on, who work in corporate and are looking to grow either in their role or get ready for the next opportunity that comes their way. Yeah. And it's probably, so I can imagine it's probably also good if you're not, fresh out of uni, because you need some time to get used to what's it like in the company and to just, have a look around. But if you are within the business or working in your job for a few years already, between 2 to 10 years or something like that is typically the range of, my clients.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I think women in leadership roles and seeing, a big push for promoting women in leadership roles. But in STEM, so Lee and I, we went to a conference a couple of years ago with, some big pharmaceutical companies, ideally in the supply chain. But looking around that room, there was very, very little women. So what are 5 kind of strategies that you like to promote in the workplace?
Yeah, so one thing is to start to build expert credibility, and that starts by believing yourself. So it doesn't mean you have to always be 100% confident. I mean, I'm not. Nobody probably is, not even men, I'm told. And but to really start believing or knowing ourselves in the sense of, what are my strengths? What are my competencies and other skills that I have learned? What are the credentials that I have? What makes me unique? That we could also call it quirks, but I mean it in the nicest possible way. And, something that gives us character. Plus, really knowing what we know so that we can speak with conviction. So that is one thing. So really building that expert credibility, first and foremost, within your own mind. But this really seeps into how you show up at the workplace. So that is one strategy. The second one I would say is, again, forming those connections, meaningful connections, mutually beneficial relationships, all over the place. So it's not just with the senior leaders in your company, but with everyone around you, really. That is another thing. The next key skill to build is communication. So really learning how to tailor what you say to your audience and always communicate with the person you're talking to in mind first, because that is how your ideas get traction. So first of all, they get listened to. And second of all, they also get acted on. But we really need to learn how to do that well. Yeah, so these are really probably the 3. You asked for 5. So let me give me 2 more. So, so fourth one might be learning to lead yourself in the sense of how you organize your work, how you manage your time and energy, how you get things done, how you, how do you stay well and healthy? All of these things. So getting that all, I'm not going to say under control, but learning what really works for you and what makes you better. And I guess the 5th one that is really close to my heart is learning how to learn. So learning how to take all of those things that happen to us and turn them into true experiences, because if we don't learn from what happens to us, then we're really not growing. And I guess this is also what your podcast is all about, to look back and not only see, okay, that's what happened, but like really, what am I taking forward and what do I want to pass on to other people so they know?
Learning how to learn. I love that.
That's incredible.
I love that. I know you focus on STEM and you focus on building up women in the executive workforce. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask a question about individuals who are about to leave the military, right? And they're about to transition into, from a military side. I know you've never been in it, but it still is, I'm assuming, relative when changing any career. They're about to change. What would be one of the things we talked about? Networking, positive thinking, I suppose is probably one of them too. But what is some advice or one strong bit of advice that you would give someone who is transitioning from like one industry to a different industry?
Yeah, give yourself time. So, I remember so vividly when I changed from the science world into this change management role. So one day I was an expert. I had like 10 years of education and training and work experience in something, and I could, come up with new solutions in my sleep, basically. And the next day I knew nothing. I had no idea what do you mean a network replenishment plan? I have like, what is that? So I didn't understand any of the words that the, experts in that field were saying. And I still had a job to do. And I felt so out of my depth, not that I have to be an expert in supply chain, but, it's just, and I put so much pressure on myself because I was used to knowing all the answers. And all of a sudden I had more questions than anything else. And it took a good 6 months to a year for me to really settle in and start to understand how things fit together, to really know how to do my role. So if you're transitioning from the military into a new job and 3 months in, you still feel out of your depth, just know it's supposed to be like that, and give yourself time and don't put pressure on you that it now needs to work super clearly and super efficiently. But really, allow yourself to absorb things, to get, to get used to the new climate, probably there's a whole new language that people use, it's like how you talk to each other, how you interact with each other.
Absolutely.
Just like give that time, because these kind of transitions, it takes us a lot of, quite a lot of time to really comprehend what's really going on.
Right. That is great advice, Nicole. That's probably the best advice. I mean, you know, we talk about networking. I mean, they're all pillars of, you know, reaching success, right? Networking, financial planning. But having that time, that's a psychological strategy, right? Understand that you won't get in there and understand everything, and give yourself time to learn. I like that. Thank you.
Learning how to learn. I think we could drop the mic on that one. That was incredible. I'm glad I asked for 5.
Yeah.
Oh man, that hit the nail on the head, and that's what you just discussed. I love it so much.
And it's funny because I struggle a little bit with that. Well, not a little bit. I struggle with that myself. I won't even say a little bit or a lot of it. But I struggle with that myself because I've just started a new position, and though it's similar, it's in a higher position, and I want to know all the answers, right? But I need to know the history on things before I can even begin to think about how to come up with an answer. And so it's, you know, thankfully I have a staff and colleagues that are very supportive, and they understand, and they provide a lot of that history, and they're saying the same thing, you know, hey, it takes time. It takes time. You're good. So thank you for just reiterating that for our listeners and for me.
I feel like I'm in my own masterclass right now.
I know.
It's pretty incredible. So, Dr. Nicole, what is up next for you?
Well, I'm very content at where I'm at. I'm still learning, I'm still growing in what I do every day because, you know, I know how to learn, and I even know how to learn when seemingly you have done things already 3 or 4 times. You know, that's often we make the mistake where we say, oh, okay, I got like all of the technical aspects down. I'm starting to get a bit bored here or under challenge. So maybe it's time for a new job. But no, actually, that is the perfect moment to start to develop all of those other skills that we typically don't have the bandwidth for when we're still learning, you know, the technical aspects, when we're still in the onboarding, when we're still getting to know the people. So that moment when you start to have that down, maybe about 6 months, 12 months into your position, then is a really good opportunity for you to start focusing on, you know, building other business skills, like learning how to understand how everything fits together in a company, how all of the things are intertwined and interdependent, or how to experiment a little bit with your stakeholder management and just see how things are getting done differently if you approach people in a different way, or learning how to hold that optimism and that belief and that things are doable, even though everyone is super worked up about the last setback. And all of these things, you typically don't have the bandwidth, well, at least I don't have the bandwidth for these kind of things when I'm out of my depth of the technical aspects of my role. So that is, well, that was a long way of saying I will continue for a little bit longer in the change management role, because there's still a lot to learn. Plus, obviously, continue to help other women in STEM through my coaching practice.
Yeah, that's great. So on your website, you have Women in STEM Reimagined. Can you kind of tell our listeners what that is?
Oh, yes. So I have two sites basically. So one is my normal site. So if you want to work with me one-on-one, you best go there. So that's interactioncoaching.de. And the other one that you just mentioned is an event that I put up twice a year. So in March, I just had the 2nd season of it. So in September, the 3rd season is going to be coming up. And it's a full week of basically free professional development advice. So I bring together total number of about 10 coaches and experts on different fields, and I interview them just like you do on your podcast, but we do it like for this one event, and people can sign up for free and listen to the interviews and hop on to one of the connection calls that we have, ask their questions. And yeah, the whole intention with that is to really make professional development more accessible to others, and also for people to find their mentors on there. So if they see an expert that they particularly like, or whose topic really resonates with them, then now they have that connection and they know of that person and they know where they can get more help.
That's great. I love it.
I was reading your 5 strategies to promote your work. Right?
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Tell us a little bit about your 5. They're actually pretty informative, but I want you to talk about it. I don't want to diminish it. I like to weave it into chit chat. That cooler water cooler talk that Eric talks about. But explain how you came up with these 5 steps, and what can you get out of following those steps?
Yeah. So that's a free resource that everybody basically gets on my website. You also get my weekly emails on the back of that, but you can unsubscribe at any time. But yeah, so I just put those together because exactly what we talked about earlier, many women in STEM, or also that's just anyone, often they feel like, oh, I feel so overlooked and not visible enough, but I don't want to go out and just brag about myself. And so I looked back and said, okay, what are the things that helped me get more visible in the company without me feeling sleazy or icky about it? So, and those were the things. And yeah, the first one is really weaving it into chit chat. And by that, I don't mean just simply talking about, oh, look what a great thing I did. I mean, obviously we can do that too,
sure.
But let's also talk about, what really interests me is, or, I just noticed I'm really good at doing this and that, or even saying things that you're not good at yet, but what would you like to learn, and so on. So, and there are like thousands of opportunities across our work life. And it's just making that a habit to at least once a day to also mention to someone either a small accomplishment or something that you really enjoyed recently, and or something that you're good at, that you really like doing. And you can do it in a way, just mention it in passing. Sometimes it's just 2 sentences in a whole conversation. But if you do it consistently, people will clock that. And then they will remember that. And you're top of mind when it comes to looking for people to help out in this or that.
And then also show it off with gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Once a month, find someone more senior than you and tell them what you're proud to be a part of. It can be a team success or praise of others.
Yeah.
I think that's very, I like that, because you could get caught up in tooting your own horn or just always talking about yourself, right? But also recognize that others are part of your success, others on the team, right? And just being able to show that level of understanding and present it to leadership, right? They know that you get it as well. So I think those are 5 good. Matter of fact, I'm gonna print it out and just put it on my wall.
I know.
I am. It's really good information.
I will definitely be a subscriber.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I have a personal question for you, Nicole. So I am a leader of very young women, right? And that really want to make an impact on their careers. And this is either just a stepping stone for them to take that next leap, or whether they stay for the long term. So what can I do in a leadership role to continue to boost the confidence of these young females, or boost their careers?
Oh, thank you so much for asking that. Basically thanking for having that kind of attitude towards that. And this is really so. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 answers. One is the from my own personal experience, and the other one is from my professional advice as a coach. So from my personal experience, I remember that the biggest impact always had on me when my boss believed more in me than I did. So in my darkest moments, when I was like ridden with self-doubt and I didn't know if I could continue another step or if I would ever figure it out. So that was during my PhD thesis, but that was also during difficult situations in the workplace. And I was so lucky to have really, really great people leaders throughout my career. And you know, when it comes to those moments where we just don't know, and then having that person who has that unwavering belief in you. And I was like, is he crazy? Does he not see how I can't do this? But, you know, he still believed in me. And I think I was so lucky to have a boss like that, because that really helped me push through, even though it didn't really sink in, but I think it had a profound impact on me keeping going. So that, you know, if you want to continue to show that you believe in your team, that you know, sees, okay, yes, you might mess up or you might fall short of your own expectations, but I believe you will figure this out and you will do great things, then they will notice that. So that is one thing. And then the other thing, you know, how I said earlier, you as an individual and leading yourself, you have to learn. So I think as a leader, you have to learn how to bring out the best in others and to help them learn and grow, basically. And that is through really asking really great questions. So you have to be able to spot people's strengths and encourage them to use them more. You have to be able to have a conversation about what motivates people, and, you know, and then really help them find ways on how they can increase that intrinsic motivation each and every day a little more. You have to know how to inspire your team by giving them a bit of, you know, a sense of meaning and purpose in their work. And man, we could make like a whole 2 new masterclasses about all of that. But yeah, and obviously being there for them, having a good relationship, having a laugh, and yeah, but really knowing, you know, helping them to bring out the best in themselves and to continuously work and grow. But I think starting with that intention that you have is already a big win.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. We have this whole kind of like girl power thing going on, and I'm just along for the ride, and I love every second of it.
Hey, that was a great question, Eric. I appreciate that as well. So, Nicole, now it's time for you to put yourself in our shoes. Eric and I, we asked you a lot of questions.
Oh, yeah.
If you were us, what would you ask yourself? And then once you figure out what you'd ask yourself, answer it.
You in your role as a podcaster, or you in your role as a team leader?
As a podcaster.
What are better questions to ask?
What are better questions to ask?
Yeah, so that's very meta right now. But it's true. It's like learning to ask more and better questions rather than jumping to conclusions, making judgments, or acting on our assumptions is such a key leadership skill.
Okay.
So for self-leadership, but also for leading a team. So what are better questions to ask, I would say.
I like that.
That's a lot.
You write that down?
I did.
I know. You write that down, Eric? All right. So, Nicole, it has been a pleasure having a conversation with you today. Thank you for giving us such amazing insight on things dealing with the career. And thank you also for introducing, or, you know, not really introducing, but broadening our understanding on STEM, and we appreciate your courageous work that you're doing. I say courageous, but you know, your dedication, right, to the success. And I believe it is courageous because I'm sure there are a lot of courageous conversations that you have in dealing with trying to empower females in the workplace that's historically, you know, dominated by men. So I appreciate that effort as well. If someone wanted to reach out to you, or how could someone, all right, I'm going to edit all of this part because I'm fumbling with the words, but here we go, I'm going to start right here. So, Dr. Tschierske, where could our listeners reach out to you or find out a little bit more information about you and the things that you do?
Yeah, sure. So find me on LinkedIn, come say hello, because I'm there all of the time, actually too much time, I would say, but yes, LinkedIn is a good place to connect. Okay. Then obviously you hop on over to my website, grab the 5 strategies to promote your work, and then you're on my email list and you will be privy to such good perks like monthly free Q&A sessions and so on. So for the people who are immediately in my universe, so everyone's invited. You don't have to be a woman to qualify for that, by the way.
Okay.
And and then as a last point, really the Women in STEM-Reimagined.com, where again every March and September we're bringing up this free professional development opportunity for everyone.
Wow.
Nice.
All I could say about today is just wow. I love your dedication, and I love what you're doing for women to boost their careers. It is truly transcending your work and everything that you've personally accomplished. So it's been a great honor having you on, Nicole. And I think my biggest takeaway from today is learning how to learn.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, I'm glad. It was a really fun conversation. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Hindsight is 2020, hindsight is key. To learn that, you don't need no type of degree. Learn from the past, see what the present gon' be. I'm a wise man, look at these blessings on me. Hindsight is 2020, hindsight is key. To learn that, you don't need no type of degree. Learn from the past, see what the present gon' be. I'm a wise man, look at these blessings on me.
Thanks for listening to Hindsight the Podcast. I hope you're getting something from this episode. Drop me a note and let me know where you're listening from. Or if you have ideas for a new segment, email me at hindsight.thepodcast@gmail.com. That's hindsight.thepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to leave me a like. I can't wait to hear from you.